There is a product that Americans spend more money on than almost anything else. A product with no price tag on the shelf, no performance guarantee in the contract, and a return policy that doesn't exist. A product that if it were sold in any other industry, the FTC would have shut it down 30 years ago. But this product isn't sold in a store. It is sold in a building with ivy on the walls and a Latin motto on the letterhead. And the sales pitch is so good, so culturally embedded, so emotionally loaded, that questioning it still makes people genuinely uncomfortable. The pitch goes like this: go to college, get a degree, get a good job, retire comfortable. That is the deal. That is what your parents told you. That is what your high school guidance counselor told you. That is what every poster in every classroom told you between the ages of 14 and 18, right when your brain was most susceptible to believing that a $200,000 decision was actually a no-brainer. And for a long time, the pitch was true. The math worked. The premium was real. A college graduate in 1980 earned about 40% more than a high school graduate. That gap was real. The investment paid off. But here is what nobody told you. The college premium you were sold in 2005 was calculated on data from a world that no longer exists. And the system quietly changed the price, kept the pitch identical, and handed the bill to you. So today we are going to talk about the $1.7 trillion student loan crisis, who actually created it, who profits from it, and why the advice to just go to college and figure it out is the most expensive guidance counselor error in American history. Let's start with the numbers, because the numbers are genuinely obscene. In 1980, the average annual cost of attending a four-year public university, including tuition, fees, room, and board, was about $3,500. Adjusted for general inflation, that would be roughly $13,000 today. The actual average cost of attending a four-year public university today is approximately $28,000 per year. That is more than double what inflation alone would predict. At a private university, the average cost is closer to $58,000 per year. 4 years at a private university will run you north of $230,000, which is coincidentally close to the median price of a house in 1995. Except the house appreciated. The degree doesn't come with equity. Now here is the mechanism that made this possible, and it is the part that nobody puts in the brochure. In 1965, the federal government started guaranteeing student loans through the Higher Education Act. The idea was generous: make college accessible to students who couldn't afford it up front by having the government back the loans. Noble in theory, catastrophic in practice. Because when the government guarantees a loan, the lender has no reason to care whether the borrower can repay it. The risk is gone. It is backstopped by taxpayers. And when the lender doesn't care about repayment, the lender will lend to anyone for anything at any price. And when lenders will lend to anyone for anything at any price, the seller of that thing has no reason to keep prices low, because no matter what the university charges, the student can borrow it. And no matter what the student borrows, the lender will approve it. It is a price discovery mechanism with the price discovery surgically removed. Economists call this the Bennett Hypothesis. In 1987, Secretary of Education William Bennett argued that every time the federal government expanded student aid, universities simply raised tuition to absorb it. More aid in. Higher prices out. The pipeline of guaranteed federal money flowing into higher education didn't make college more affordable. It made college more expensive and handed universities an infinitely elastic customer base with no ability to say no, and universities, to their credit, acted exactly like any rational institution would. They spent it. New administrative buildings, luxury dormitories, rock climbing walls, lazy rivers, campus recreation centers that cost more per square foot than five-star hotels. Because when the money keeps coming, you spend the money that keeps coming. Between 1993 and 2021, the number of university administrators in the United States grew by 60%. Faculty grew by 92%. But administrative staff, the non-teaching, non-research, pure overhead layer of the university, grew by 240%. That is not education. That is bureaucracy funded by your student loans, being paid back over the next 25 years. Now, let's meet someone who lived this. Meet Sarah. Sarah is 23. Sarah did everything right, went to a well-regarded state university, studied hard, graduated in 4 years. Sarah has a degree in communications. She has a 3.4 GPA. She has $67,000 in student loan debt. Her starting salary at the marketing agency that hired her is $42,000. After taxes, Sarah takes home about $2,900 a month. Her rent in the mid-sized city she moved to for the job is $1,350. Her minimum student loan payment on the standard 10-year repayment plan is $690 per month. That leaves Sarah $860 for food, transportation, healthcare, clothing, and everything else that constitutes being a functioning adult human. Sarah cannot save for a house. Sarah cannot save for retirement. Sarah is treading water at the exact moment in her life when compound interest, had she been able to invest, would have done the most powerful work for her future. Sarah is not a cautionary tale about bad decisions. Sarah made every decision she was told to make. Sarah is a cautionary tale about a system that sold her a product without showing her the receipt. And Sarah is not unusual. She is the median. The average student loan borrower in the United States currently owes approximately $37,000, but that average is dragged down by people who borrowed $10,000 for community college. Among four-year university graduates, the median debt is closer to $29,000. Among graduate degree holders, the average climbs past $80,000. Among medical and law school graduates, it regularly exceeds $200,000. Total outstanding student loan debt in the United States, $1.77 trillion. With a T, that is larger than the GDP of Australia. That is more than total US credit card debt and auto loan debt combined. And unlike credit card debt, which you can discharge in bankruptcy, student loans follow you. You can't discharge federal student loans in bankruptcy unless you can prove undue hardship, which courts define so narrowly it is essentially a legal fiction available to almost no one. The debt survives divorce. It survives job loss. The government can garnish your Social Security in retirement if you still owe. You can be 70 years old and have your retirement check reduced to pay off a degree you got in 1994 that barely helped you find work in 1994. This is the only consumer debt product in American history, with literally no exit other than repayment or death. And the industry built around it is enormous. Sallie Mae, Navient, Mohila. These loan servicers collectively manage hundreds of billions in student debt and are paid by the federal government based on loan volume, not borrower outcomes. Their incentive is to keep borrowers in repayment as long as possible, not to help borrowers pay off loans as efficiently as possible. There have been multiple federal investigations and billion-dollar settlements with loan servicers for steering borrowers into forbearance instead of income-driven repayment plans that would have cost them less. The servicer got paid either way. You just paid more. And here is the gut punch that brings all of this together. The degree itself, the product at the center of all of this debt, is quietly being devalued by the very inflation that drove its cost. In 1970, about 11% of Americans had a 4-year college degree. It was genuinely scarce. The premium was real. Employers paid for it. Today, about 38% of Americans over 25 have a bachelor's degree. When something goes from 11 to 38%, it stops being a differentiator. It becomes a baseline. The degree that used to open the door is now just the price of admission to compete for the right to have someone look at your resume. And employers are noticing. Between 2017 and 2023, over 50 major US employers, including IBM, Google, Apple, and Delta, quietly dropped the 4-year degree requirement from a significant portion of their job postings. Not because they stopped valuing skills, because they started valuing skills over credentials. The market is slowly waking up to what the data has been saying for a decade. A degree is a signal. It was a great signal when it was rare. When everyone has one, the signal degrades. And a degraded signal is not worth $200,000. Now before someone in the comments types the word, but, let me say it clearly. Is education valuable? Yes. Is the college experience, the intellectual development, the network, the credential worthless? There are fields where the degree is mandatory and worth every dollar: medicine, engineering, law, nursing. The degree is the license. The license is the job. That math still works. But the communications degree, the general business degree, the psychology degree, with no plan for graduate school, the $180,000 private university diploma for a field where starting salaries average $38,000. That math doesn't work. It never worked. Nobody showed you the calculator. And the cruelest part is who ends up holding the worst deals. First-generation college students told that education is the ladder out of poverty, frequently end up at for-profit universities with lower graduation rates, worse employment outcomes, and higher debt loads than any other sector of higher education. The for-profit college industry, which educates about 9% of students, but accounts for nearly 30% of all student loan defaults, is essentially a machine for extracting federal loan dollars from the most financially vulnerable students in the country. Students who often drop out before graduating, who graduate into debt with credentials that employers don't recognize, who were sold the American dream and handed an invoice instead. The government has sued several of these institutions. Some have been shut down, most have not, and new ones open every year, armed with the same pitch, the same federal loan access, and the same business model. Because as long as the loans flow regardless of outcomes, the incentive to produce outcomes doesn't exist. So where does this leave you? If you have student debt, refinancing to a lower interest rate can save you tens of thousands if your credit and income qualify. But be careful refinancing federal loans to private because you lose income-driven repayment protections. You cannot get back. If you are making education decisions right now, price the outcome first. Research starting salaries in the field. Divide the total cost of the degree by the salary premium. Calculate the actual payback period before you sign anything. A $25,000 community college plus state university path and a $180,000 private university path do not produce proportionally different outcomes in most fields. The second path just starts with a larger hole. And if you are a parent currently co-signing loans for a 17-year-old, remember that your retirement account cannot borrow its way back to solvency. The student has decades to recover from a bad decision. You might not. The system isn't going to fix itself. The universities have no incentive to lower prices. The lenders have no incentive to care about outcomes. The government has guaranteed the loans and stepped back. And the cultural story, go to college, build a better life, is so emotionally powerful that questioning it still feels like attacking hope. But hope is not a financial plan, and a diploma is not an asset. It is a piece of paper attached to a payment schedule that someone handed you at 18 and said good luck. So drop your take in the comments, because I want to know where you land. Do you think a college is still worth it, and people just need to choose smarter majors? B, the entire higher education financing system needs to be dismantled and rebuilt. Or C, it is already too late. The debt is already out there, and the only honest conversation left is about who is going to absorb the loss. Because someone is going to absorb the loss. The only question is whether it is the borrowers, the taxpayers, or the institutions. And right now, only one of those three groups is being asked to pay without being asked for their opinion first.